Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we are live at 11:59 a.m. on a Tuesday, August 25th. August 25th, end of August. There's some serious times coming, ladies and gentlemen. It's right around the corner. September. We got the election coming up. We have all these inflationary stimulus benefits running out. People back due on rent 3, 4, 5, 6,000 months. We have no idea what's going to play out in that regard. The reason I mention these things on a crypto-centric channel is because this is the most important things to consider. What's going to play out? Where is the money? Where's the problems? What's going on in politics? What's going on with the financial system? This plays into psychology and people's choices and what people do. Now, we know the vast majority of people don't touch crypto at all. And that's just unfortunate. And the vast majority of people know nothing other than fiat. They get a paycheck. In fact, they go to payday lenders. And that's all they know is dollars. Stupid dollars. Like, can you pick the worst possible thing to only use? Let's use the worst possible thing only. Dollars. Like, oh. And that is the way it is. So we are here because we're working with technology, looking for assets that are not dollars. And we're not on Fidelity or Active Trader or whatever buying stocks, which is a part of a company, as Warren Buffett says. You're owning a part of the company. We're not buying bonds. We're not buying other fiat. We're not buying REITs and dividend-bearing instruments. The question I like to ask is, why aren't we doing that? Maybe we're here in crypto because we want to buy something that's not that, because that is what everyone else was doing for 100 and whatever years of modern capitalism. Modern capitalism. Is that the best way to describe it? But the point being, we are here in crypto because we don't want to do what everyone else is doing because everyone else is an idiot. Who's in the chat? Let's see what's going on. Lewis, it's time to rock. Who owns DOT? I've had DOT for a while now. Back when it was $200, $300, $400 a pop. Good old days. 20 minutes ago. A couple days ago. Charlie's in the house. Always a pleasure. Can't comment, but your ears are on. It's always a pleasure, my brother. Congrats, Noah, number 26, top crypto influencer. I guess I don't know if that really, what the scope is of that ranking, but I like to think and hope that I'm influential in a positive way. I'm not shilling Uniswap garbage. I'm not shilling speculative projects that have maybe no GitHub activity or just GitHub activity that doesn't really justify the attention it's getting. I don't like hype. I like projects that have a fundamental macro narrative that they're really positioned to participate and contribute to financial structures and systems that are profound and meaningful. Shit that is cool as compared to the pathetically antiquated legacy system. That's the stuff that I like to talk about. Captain Weber's in the house, hooking me up with them lobster tails. My man! Always a pleasure. Riding Digivite, Ren, Adam, Iris, and Dot. Woo! Now, those are the picks. Now, we'll get into some technicals, obviously. I always hit the technicals. Ren's taking a hit. Ren was up huge, though. At one point, it was a 10-bagger. I was up 10x. That was crazy. So, we'll get to the technicals. Barry, fantastic. Always a pleasure. Staff, yes. Digibuddy just nibble. Where'd you get that? I grabbed that from Hotbit. Is it Hotbit? Yeah, Hotbit. Hotbit.io. No KYC. I would not mess with KYC, albeit I'm still annoyed to have to deal with a centralized exchange at all. Have you come across the unemployment expectation for this week, Thursday? They release it on Thursdays. We'll know in 2 days. And, I mean, listen, It's over a million. We've had a million plus job losses for the last like 18 weeks. Um, Sven Henrik. That's the person to follow if you want the real deal analysis of and real great sarcastic commentary. He's the master. He really is. Let's pop it over to the main screen. So good old Sven. You follow Sven. That's who you follow if you want to know what's going on with the real economy, because he gives reality checks. It's a perfect, most recent or pinned tweet from August 22nd. Thank you, Sven. Best. Yeah, Captain Weber got it from Hotbit. Good stuff, good stuff. Yes, Bitcoin 10th a pair. Ren, please pull back. We're also Captain Weber loves Sven. So let's look at Ren quickly on the chart. So Ren is pulling back, and it has broken from what appeared to be a decently formed symmetric triangle, clearly coming off a massive explosion of peak. So 30-minute on the 30-minute chart, look at all this green upward sloping guppies. I mean, there was basically no horizontal price action and no obviously negative price action, which we've seen over here. So this is not sustainable, this type of price movement where you really want to see. I can't even pull up something that looks sustainable on the Ren chart. Let's see if there's anything. So this doesn't look sustainable either. The 4-hour on Ren doesn't necessarily look sustainable. We'll get into the Ren technicals in a bit. But point being, it is what it is. The technicals are leaning heavily towards a meaningful pullback in price action. Now, this little price indicator I have here, minus 21%, brings us to the 200 EMA on the 1 hour. On the 4 hour? Yeah, the 200 EMA on the 4 hour. So on the 1 hour, we just broke the 200 EMA. That's a very nice support line, very meaningful. And on the 4 hour brings us about 21% lower. So let's see what happens. Nothing is bankable with regard to price action. Technicals are not anticipatory. They don't tell you what's going to happen. They give you indicators, and you look for confluence, and it's just another piece of data that helps you make a choice, helps you make a decision, which is really why I like these types of trend formations. I really like symmetric triangles because it's basically pushing the price towards a break, whether it's up or down. And I'm not very specific when I draw my triangles. Draw my lines, my technical analysis lines. I like to think of them as general, broad indicators. And technical analysis is really representative of sentiment and psychology. So even though it's not specific, I like to think that this is the prevailing trend. This is what I see. In many regards, technicals are extremely subjective. Sometimes they tell you what you want to see. I don't know. I would love to see so I don't want. All right, I take it back. Sometimes, all right, maybe I don't. Sometimes they tell you what I want, what person wants to see. I don't want to see XRP go down, but this technical just looks horrible. It's just, this is what I see. I see a falling triangle coming off massive bearish movement. So anyway. So I expect, as everyone is hoping for, Ren to do a nice pullback, probably to the 200 EMA on the 4 hour, or a good portion there. But then the question becomes, where do you find support? I mean, theoretically, support can be built anywhere in between where we are now and some sort of meaningful support region. And then you go from there. So I like to pick entries based on like a prevailing trend formation. So these are good trades. When you see symmetric triangles, those are great trades. And frankly, I'm losing the flavor. I'm losing my interest in trading, and I'm leaning more so towards back to the beginning of the alt season. The alt season. Love that phrase. And more feeling the fundamentals again. And I just have my positions, and I'm able to pull myself away from the trading and the insanity, and really just focus on like talking on Twitter, talking on this stream, working, and friends and family. Instead of just staring at charts all day looking for a stupid trend breakout. Um, so I did very well with technicals and trend breakouts, and I was able to capitalize on the upside and protect losses on the downside. So, I'm happy I spent the time on that, but I don't really want to do that much. At least, I don't see myself doing that many months going forward. What I miss in the chart? Captain Weber in the comments, Captain Weber loves Sven. Yes. Stacks in the house, always a pleasure. Welcome, enjoy. Click says I got $500 in USDT. No, I can't give a recommendation. I don't. What's $500? What do you want, a 10x? You're gonna turn it into 5 grand? 10x is a look. Ren just pulled a 10x and it pulled back to what, a 5x or a 6x. The only way you pull a 10x is we get something like that's 5 cents and $50,000 market cap, and you're on one of those Uniswap type of assets, and it's max risk, max reward. I do not even head down the road of entertaining max risk, max reward assets. I want min risk, min reward assets. I want an asset that has $250 million of market cap that's going to crank out 20% RIF to the upside. That's what I want. I don't want an asset that has a $100,000 market cap that's going to pull 10,000% to the upside. I don't want that. And that's just me. And that is what I share on the channel. So I cannot recommend something that's, if you want, throw it into Bancor and you could get 5-10% on a break to the upside. You're going to get $20. So it's difficult, my friend. I'm sorry. I don't have the best thing to recommend. Nathan says, thumbs up, Noah. You can tell us what you advocate protecting your gains in BTC mega caps versus stablecoins. Okay, so the bottom line is protect your gains right now in Bitcoin, in my opinion, and Ethereum, because they haven't moved yet. Those are the macro plays of the century in most regards. So when we start to see the whatever fiscal package roll out from Congress in the next month or so, when they get back from whatever vacation they're on, I think we're going to have some sort of critical period of time as certain trends start to come to not fruition, but start to come to pass. Like we start to see a rush of evictions nationwide because nobody's paid their rent over the last 6 months, 8 months. The whole cancel rent movement, cancel culture, so to speak. And that's going to push the politicians to make a move, and the politicians are going to they're going to give money. They print money. What else can they do? There's nothing else they can do because the system is built on debt. It's not built on savings. The only thing they can do is issue more debt. And more debt means print, which means well, if they start giving money out to the general public, that's an inflationary pressure. George Gammon talks about this, the difference between money going to, the banks and the primary dealers versus the general public very nicely. He gives it a great breakdown in his videos. But when the money goes to the system, the billionaires, the millionaires, the banks, the dealers, and not the general public, you don't necessarily see the inflation. But if you're going to start giving $1 trillion to the general public, yeah, that inflation is going to show up real quick, particularly because people are going to maintain their normal activity. They're going to be going shopping, they're going to be doing and buying things, but the system is still disrupted. So that increases demand with a constant or decreasing supply, and that obviously has the inflationary pressure on pricing. Anyway, I dug deep into that, ladies and gentlemen. So, point being, we haven't seen Bitcoin and Ethereum move yet. And that is why, for myself, my choice is to accumulate Bitcoin and Ethereum. There will be a point in time in the next 2 to 3 years where we start to contemplate protecting those gains. And I'm not even quite sure where to start thinking about protecting them too. What is your liquidation asset when you start to think about Bitcoin and Ethereum and Polkadot and Cosmos and the big mega caps in the next couple years? I don't know. I'm not there yet. We're not there yet. And frankly, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, it's going to be a very different world financially, the financial system. So a lot of this is a little bit premature to start contemplating. You're going to go to a stable coin, and the stable coin is not going up in value, and what is the inflation rate, and that it's very good. It's pegged to the dollar, and if the dollar is decreasing in purchasing power, you're going to be selling Bitcoin and Ethereum into something that has substantially decreasing purchasing power. So it's a very complicated topic in the next couple of years. Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Yeah, the digital currency initiative. Now, what do I know about the federal government? They're a bunch of idiots. I mean, I'm sure there's smart people. I've heard Tom Emmer speak, and he is quite astute and understanding of many things. He has described um, topics with great clarity, with appropriate care and respect. So he gets much credit for that. So when I say politicians are stupid, obviously that is a stereotype. There are smart people everywhere. But the prevailing trend of the politician is short-sighted, limited scope of vision. I've heard many politicians say we should ban crypto. That's just a stupid thing. That's stupid. That might actually be stupid. Like, let's protect the dollar as from cryptocurrencies. That a person that says that has to be malfunctioning at the cerebral cortex level and should probably is not mentally equipped to participate in government activity. So that's just my opinion. But I think that might be the case because there is no reason cryptocurrency should not be folded into the financial system. The whole question is how. And that is a technological question as well as a policy question. And these are the types of things that I wish the politicians would even remotely talk about, but of course they do not. And that leaves us in a very difficult situation, but it also gives us a lot of opportunity. We're dealing with technology that is off the grid, so to speak, from the prevailing political trend or the prevailing political talking points or the shit that they're dealing with on a daily basis. We're off the radar in most regards, and that gives us leverage. Anytime we're dealing with something that most people are not thinking about, we have leverage and we're in a position of opportunity and power. That's cool. All right, let's take a look at the comments. What I missed? Oh my goodness, I missed a lot. Maybe it's been asked before what Tezos is doing. So they're doing security asset STOs. I don't know. I don't know Tezos. I'm more interested in Elrond. What I'm interested in, the only time I will even remotely think about an alternative ecosystem other than Ethereum is if there's effective interoperability solutions, either deployed currently, being considered. Yeah. So the three, as I've talked about in my previous streams, the three ecosystem projects that I think are by far the most robust are Cosmos and Polkadot. Now, I've been saying that before Polkadot disrupted the top 10. Um, Polkadot has blown past Cardano on the top 10. Polkadot is now number 7. Top 10 cryptocurrency by market cap because it's a big deal. And I have the documentation that I've been going over. This is a very big deal. And so is Cosmos. You know, it's not a big deal currently. Cardano. It doesn't do anything. It literally doesn't do anything. So I am not a speculative investor, albeit investing, generally speaking, is always speculative to some degree. But I like to minimize my speculation. I'd rather invest in something that actually does something. So that's the thing about cryptocurrencies, why I cannot invest in companies anymore. The fundamental analysis of a company is like their cash flow, their business. Are they growing or are they not? If something is expected to double their revenue next year, you should expect the price of their stock to double next year because the price of their stock should be representative of their business and how well they're doing. Now, clearly, this renders the entire stock market completely useless to a person like me nowadays. But that is not the case with crypto. So the fundamental analysis of the crypto projects, I'm able to see uh, the use case potential, the utility of the asset. I have context relative to other assets that have pricing, which means if something fits into a market that's comparable to Ethereum, which is like Polkadot, I have a relative pricing to consider. And then I think of the technology. What is the technological offering of Polkadot relative to Ethereum? How disruptible is Ethereum? Now, I don't see Polkadot disrupting Ethereum, but I sure as hell seeing it worthy of a market cap comparable to Ethereum. And frankly, here's an interesting one. There's no reason Polkadot cannot have a higher market cap than Ethereum, albeit Ethereum would still be the dominant platform with regard to consumption, utility, functionality, and really, just breadth of usefulness. That would be a very interesting one, and that's an interesting idea that I present right now. There's no reason the value um, uh, can flip, and that does not take away anything at all from Ethereum as the center point, the centerpiece of computational processing in a blockchain ecosystem or something like that. Now, interestingly enough, you have your outliers like, look, Cardano comes in at number 9, but it actually does nothing. So that is 100% speculation. Um, all it has is a governance layer. It has 0 smart contracts. That's their next project to implement the smart contract solution. So as of right now, it literally does nothing. So if anyone owns Cardano, they are literally buying the speculation of what will the asset do when the smart contract functionality becomes available. What will happen? How will people perceive the asset? Will developers develop on the platform? You don't know because the smart contracts are not available yet. So I do not want those types of bets. I will place value, my hard-earned value, into an asset if and only if there is a large developer ecosystem. Because that means there's attention and that means the psychology is there. People's minds and ideas and thoughts are on the platform. There's a lot of development going on in Polkadot. And because of the psychology drawing people's attention to the platform, we clearly see what happened to the price. Not speculation. That is a perfect example of not, or at least decreased speculation as compared to number 9, which has no psychology being drawn, no psychological indicators drawing people to the platform because of development on the platform, because there is actually no development at all on the platform. Anyway, a lot of investing is psychological. Where was I? Let's look at the comments. Click says Digibyte moved so the Digibyte and the Rosetta platform is a big deal. There's no reason Digibyte shouldn't be on Coinbase at some point sooner or later. Digibyte, I don't need to really get into the fundamentals right now. I've only got a couple minutes. I think I'm going to go over today. I'm having fun talking. Otherwise, the rest of the day is so boring. But I don't want to get into Digibyte. It is a brilliant, it is just, I love Digibyte. Everything for what it stands for. And I just don't want to get into that right now. Love it, love it, love it. Next time, another time. Very much interested in the aspect of baking and staking. Baking and staking. Baking? What are we talking about? Tezos bakeries? You're talking about proof of stake, and you're talking about any proof of stake UTXO asset is inflationary. So you're not getting any gains. There's no yield because if there's an increased monetary supply, the purchasing power of the asset or the value of the asset is going to decrease inversely proportional. So you need to stake in order to maintain your value. No doubt, and it gets complicated. I don't want to get into the complexity. And really, if you want one of the more sophisticated, inflationary yet cumulatively deflationary assets, you're talking about synthetics, which actually has an increasing supply of asset, but cumulatively, the deflationary pressures of the platform outweigh the inflating asset quantity, which is fascinating. There's incentivized supply disruption that is overwhelmingly stronger than the uh, increasing supply, which is really cool. And that's really what Curve is going for. I think they're going to tweak their monetary supply. And that's really what the decentralized governance is most useful for. It allows the platform to emerge organically or naturally, and I think Curve might actually pull a big U-turn. Let's take a look. I don't want to speculate on it. I'm not going to speculate on it because I'm not a gambling or a betting man, but it might. It might. We'll see. They'll have to go through a couple of governance iterations, but there's no reason the result of a governance iteration can't just bam pop at $20. But bear in mind, look at the damn supply. The fully diluted valuation, $9 billion. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I got a fair amount of Curve, and this is the reason why I'm thinking these things, because we're starting to see governance, real decentralized governance play out for Curve. And here's an example of it. This is the type of thing that we see with Maker and some of these platforms that actually have real utility and governance. Not like so you're going to see so many damn DAOs that have nothing. There's nothing to the platform. At least if you haven't stop speculating on stupid assets that are they're governance tokens that do nothing. You're taking your risk reward and skewing it all the way to risk. I mean, at least with Curve, there is actual governance going on. People are discussing, and so at least with Maker, there's actual governance. But I could not buy governance tokens. I'm too small in my position sizing to really take part in these. I guess you want the small people. The democratic voting is a very complicated topic. It is not something I have the time or the capacity to really contribute on the topic right now. Anyway, I digress. What does DGB do? Digibyte is a record storage and asset management system. That is what Digibyte does. Digibyte has the capacity to disrupt cloud service providers, including Amazon, Microsoft, and pretty much all of them. That is what Digibyte can do, and in theory should do at some point in the future. Is it an inevitability? No. Is it a possibility? Yes. Why? Because it has all the components it needs to. It's free. It's superior. And the free part means it saves companies billions and billions of dollars, and it's technologically superior. All right, so maybe it is inevitable. We'll see. Great stuff as always. Got to get back to work. Later, Charlie. Always a pleasure. Cheers, brother. I'll catch you. I saw DGB has partnered with Travala. I think it's more like Travala has interest in attaching itself to the branding of Digibyte, which is cool. Travala's a big deal. Dot has ripped since you've been talking. Has it? Let's take a peek. Let's see what Dot's doing. Let's see what it's doing, ladies and gentlemen. Damn. Look at Kusama coming out 30%, 24 hours. Woo, woo. So Kusama is, the canary network for Polkadot. probably should have more or less the same exact features and functionality. And, I'm curious how they're structuring their deployment. No doubt you release something to Kusama to test, but Kusama is public. So what's the real significance if it both are public networks that people can interact with? I don't know. Um, but clearly Kusama has a huge, that's something to consider. How do you value Kusama relative to Polkadot if they have the equivalent functionality? I don't know. I'd have to dig more into the technicals or the technical properties of the platform. And if one, it's not something that I'm wanting to do right now. But look at that. Look at these gains to be gotten over a 24-hour period. Where's Len? What did it pull back to? So Len was up like 35%. And Len pulled back very nicely. But look at this. Look at Len on the daily. Absolutely incredible the potential upside Lend has. This is basically a bullish. Look how bullish that is. It's a divergence. If this was pointing down, oh my goodness, incredible. If the price action was down, that'd be so bullish. But it's still so bullish. So on the 4-hour, it clearly ripped to the upside. So that's why we see on the Stoke, we're coming out of overbought territory. But on the daily, we're at 60. This thing could rip to 8,000 and nobody would be like, how did it rip to 8,000? Well, the Stoke was at 60, so it ripped to 8,000. It would just make sense. Let's wrap this up in a couple minutes, ladies and gentlemen. I know folks have to get back to work. John says, I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it for the honest money. We're in it for the money, but we have to do it in a way that makes sense, that's rational, because if we try and fight what makes sense, that's how we get into uncontrolled situations. That's how we get into risky situations, because we're not prepared to handle it. We're not prepared to think about the stuff that we need to think about to protect our gains. So that's why the best thing you could do is not fight what makes sense to you, not fight reason and rationality. Do it for yourself. Just take a step back. And if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. Ask questions and contemplate what you do before you do it. What's a good total number of holders velocity? A lot. And if you talk about tokens, you go on Etherscan and you look at the asset distribution, and you want to see good distribution. I mean, obviously the project's founders are going to have a fair amount, which really comes back to like Jared Tate and talking about like real honest, natural emissions from proof of work chains. Fair project starts. So that's a lot of psychology and philosophy in how these projects start and what is the best way. Clearly a proof of work chain starting with zero and miners coming in to really have organic emissions and balanced emissions. There's something that's incredibly honorable about that, as compared to just minting 1 billion tokens out of thin air and starting to distribute. That's more of like starting a business. But that's a whole philosophical and psychology debate. I don't know anything about ZillaQ. Although unstoppable domains, that's a big deal. So maybe, listen here, BNB. I don't have time for Binance Chain at all. I'm not interested in any asset on Binance Chain. I don't have time. I don't think it has a future. I think Cosmos will dominate in the East, Polkadot will dominate in the West, and Ethereum already dominates globally. The Binance Chain doesn't have a leg to stand on compared to those other markets, in my opinion. So Bancor, when they remove the caps on V2 pools should increase substantially with regard to liquidity. Now, Bancor is a core component of liquidity in these pools. Now, I'm very interested in their governance solutions because Bancor has the potential to head down the road comparable to Kyber. Now, let's end the stream on a couple of charts. So I got Bancor and Kyber that I have a decent sized position. I started about a week ago. I had a position in Lend, Bancor, and Kyber. So I've gone in and out of these bad boys a bunch, protecting gains, no doubt. But currently, I had 2x the size of the position in Lend as I did Bancor and Kyber. It was 1, 1, and 2, so to speak. Lend broke out. I pulled some nice gains out, put that into Bitcoin. But Bancor and Kyber have not yet. So Bancor and Kyber both have some symmetric triangle pattern formations. I'm looking for Kyber to break to the upside. A break to the upside, bear in mind, look, this is a very sloppy trend formation. So, probably want to see at least a higher high, like 15,850, something like that, above this peak right here, or maybe even above a peak right there to really have a strong, obvious trend formation break to the upside, 1750. 17,100, something like that. And that would be a clear, obviously undeniable break to the upside. I don't necessarily know if the break to the upside will be explosive. We've seen a lot of, very, we've seen a lot of stuff like this of late. They go pretty much horizontal, and sometimes they go like this. We've seen a lot of that lately, which is really annoying. But if there's a break to the downside on Kyber, check this out. Do I have it drawn? No. Yeah. So this is where there's a lot of support on Kyber. So here's your horizontal line. Unfortunately, didn't have it drawn. Yeah, so there's your line of support. So if this symmetric triangle breaks to the downside, you're looking at there's a fair amount of distance between there and there. But that's where your downside support would look to hold, right around there. Bancor, on the other hand, I would look for support on this bottom yellow line if the red line broke to the downside. So these are my two favorite plays. I've been playing these all alt season. Now, interestingly enough, anyone who says there hasn't been an alt season, yeah, this shit is crazy. There's serious alt season. Things are up 3, 4, 5, 10x, 20x. Things are on fire. Things have been crazy. Definitely an alt season. But bear in mind, we haven't had alt UTXO season. So there's definitely something new, and there's a lot of new going on, like new relative to we don't have experience with what's playing out as compared to 2017. Oh, it's fully around in 2017, and what's going on now has signs, has a smell of 2017, but this is no way the same thing that went on in 2017. I mean, there's DeFi craziness with AMMs and Based and all these just garbage, IGOs, governance, initial governance offerings, these assets that are just governance tokens that do absolutely jack shit. That smells of the ICO, uselessness. There's a lot of Uniswap tokens that do nothing. Absolutely nothing, and you can make a lot of money, but they are a house of cards. And the second the house of cards comes tumbling down, you're going to lose everything, unless you get in and get out. So you could have made millions off of BitConnect. You see my point? Stop speculating and start investing, and start protecting your gains and setting up a portfolio that's going to change your life in the next 5, 10 years. And for that, you have to really have a macro narrative. Where do these assets fit into the big picture? Man, every asset that I have up here fits into the big picture in such an incredibly disruptive way. Well, except this thing. Well, frankly, even the XRP, maybe Ripple more so than XRP. There's such a distinction. Ripple fits into the big picture. XRP, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of projects that are dealing with Ripple, so I don't discount it. And here's my conclusion for Ripple. Ripple is very disruptive, and XRP, the asset, could change everything, but the price could go down, and that's really what it means. The price has nothing to do with the XRP success. How about that one? And that's really my conclusion for XRP. This could be adopted by the entire United States banking system, and the price of XRP will go down 50%. All right. Lewis, thank you. It's my pleasure to stay past a couple minutes. This is my fun time of the day where I get to talk about the things that I think about to myself, and I get to express it and share it with other people, and I hope this dialogue, this monologue, helps other people make proper, healthy, safe decisions for themselves, for their family. And it's don't gamble, don't take the risk. Don't take the risk. Even if it's $500, don't take the risk. You worked hard for it, so you want a breakout. You want gains, and protect those gains and set yourself up for the next couple of years. You worked too damn hard to take too much risk, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. 12:39 on a Tuesday, August 25th. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you all tomorrow. You have a good one now. Peace.